Good morning, Unicorn fam. Welcome to the Crypto Unicorns Town Hall number 43 with Aaron Barshman, Crypto Unicorn CEO and co-founder. I just have a few words for y'all. You will enjoy this town hall. You will. For now, we have some quality time with Aaron, who is always ready to spill the tea and spread the hype. Good morning, Aaron. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, Sparkly. Thank you, as always, for the wonderful intro. I'm coming to everyone live here from the front lines of building in the dark forest. Let's run through some updates, and then, yeah, happy to dive into questions. Let's talk about 2.3. I'm dubbing 2.3, which launches August 24th. Mark your calendars as the Great Lag Killer. I'll repeat, the Great Lag Killer. Some highlights from the wonderful work the engineering team has been doing, as well as the profiling that the QA team has completed. So we're seeing a 4x decrease in load times to get into the game. This is on like cleared cache too. So this is like hard reboot, cleared cache. You're seeing a 4x increase in, or sorry, 4x decrease in the load time. They've solved a big chunk of what you see in terms of menus lagging in sometimes, especially on lower end devices. We've done a massive kind of file size reduction in terms of just cramming down animations, cramming down the size of assets inside of cramming down the size of the unicorn images in particular. So all the scroll menus are feeling a lot better. And then ultimately true deltas, which we've been talking about for a long time. High level, all that really means is the server will only communicate changes to the client, set kind of the full state. So once again, I'm very, very excited for V2.3 to come out. I think it's really good timing with our big delegation push here. And my expectation is that it solves a majority of the problems that people have. And I'll say this, and Bean said this, I had to kind of go rescue him in Sirius because he walked into a trap I myself have fallen into several times. If these changes do not solve a majority of the lag for players, honestly, at that point, we've really hit the limits of what is possible with Unity WebGL and browser. And the only other option will be to flip the switch towards native. We are integrating Nethereum, which is a way to get MetaMask and crypto wallets to communicate with a Unity downloadable as kind of an experiment. But supporting another platform and doing the work around that will be a significant increase in work for the development team. Certainly will be quite the effort on the QA front. So it's something that we will want to put up for vote and see if there is consensus around pushing for that change, should it be necessary. It's my expectation that for the vast majority of people, V2.3 is going to feel like butter, and I'm very, very excited to get that feedback and see how it reacts in the wild. But in our testing with cloned accounts with 300 plus corns and 16 lands, really is looking and feeling in particular much better. So V2.3 towards the end of the month on the 24th, I'm dubbing it the lag killer. Next, I'm just generally super happy with kind of where sentiment sits. I kind of feel like the winds of change are really starting to blow. I want to give a massive shout out to both Ella and Mitch, who have been doing phenomenal jobs in their respective new roles. Ella, of course, on social media, and Mitch on marketing and partnerships. Obviously, the Sunflower Land partnership, incredible. Mitch really pushed, got a deep integration. It's been great to see that community come in. And I think if you compare it to the first attempt with Mitch's predecessor's predecessor, it's a night and day difference and really speaks to how much momentum Mitch has been able to generate in such a small period of time. I'll also give shout outs to new influencers we're starting to see join the community. Azarian certainly comes top of mind. Wonderful to see him beginning to put out really great content targeting Latin America. We're also really slowly convincing people who have been on the sidelines, and some have been on the sidelines for quite some time. And I will say this just kind of generally without calling anyone out. Like, if you're not starting to turn bullish here, I don't think you're paying attention to the right things. I'll leave it at that. Next, let's talk about Unicorn Party. You're going to see towards the end of this month what I will call a massive Unicorn Party proposal on the forum. It's coming from Team Surf, the developers behind Bumpercorns and Mob Run. And it speaks to an expansion into more games and expansion into more payment options, and a much lower kind of barrier to entry for players to actually spend in the game. So it is a shift towards more of what I would call a real money gaming direction, which for those unfamiliar, that is one of the most successful segments of mobile gaming today. It is one of the few segments of mobile gaming that's growing very crazy, or growing very rapidly, and generates billions of dollars of revenue a year. And so I'll play a little coy on this one, but as we've been looking at various strategies for Unicorn Party in the forever shifting landscape that is the mobile app stores, what they will allow, what they won't allow, Team Surf came forward with a really slick, beautiful kind of deck and great presentation and pitch around what they wanted to do from a third-party perspective with Unicorn Party. So I'm very excited about this opportunity. I've already vetted the budget request. I can reallocate budget by doing some trimming to ensure that this is actually not an increase in quarterly treasury draws, which, so anyway, I think it's really lining up to be something that's going to be an exciting shift in strategy. It's not a complete 180 at all. I'd say it's about a 90-degree pivot that I think drives more revenue, more value, and ultimately exposes our IP to more people than we could get with just Bumpercorns and kind of Mob Run alone. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think it lines up very nicely, obviously, with the real money gaming side of mobile and this kind of risk to earn or wagerify or whatever the hell crypto Twitter is calling it this week. But I think it's a really, really good confluence of both of those market kind of shifts and puts us directly in line in to capture that, with the ultimate outcome being more exposure for our IP, more revenue for the treasury. So I'm going to be putting this forward alongside Team Surf. This proposal will link to the deck. It will include a ton of details as well as a timeline. And I'm working very closely with that team over the next few weeks to put that together. I'm going to get it to the forum certainly before the end of the month. So excited for more on that, but I very much think that that is the right direction to head with the Unicorn Party SKUs. Next, Governance 2.0. So the last time we really kind of put forward an update on governance was Governance 1.5. You can check that Medium article out if you would like to refer back to that. Since that Medium post, since the original Governance 1.0 post, obviously we've had a ton of votes. We've had an enormous amount of drama. We've had all kinds of things. And in that experience, we've taken these lessons, these learnings, and we are putting them into effectively what is like a formal constitution. Legally, it would be called a charter. The idea here is to get the DAO to memorialize this constitution, this charter, which to me solves a lot of the edge cases around some of the problems that we've run into in the past. It clarifies roles. It reinforces the value of people like the council members and things of that nature. So I'm excited for this next major step in our attempt to do the crazy thing of progressively decentralize and ultimately hand control over this DAO to our community. This is something that I believe in. This is something that I want and continue to uh, really advocate for, despite the criticism that we receive around it. This is also in tandem with the unincorporated nonprofit. That is still something I am debating with our current investors. I have a call a bit later today. My expectation is they're going to allow this to happen because I want it to. It will transfer the IP, the CryptoUnicorns IP, from Laguna to a unincorporated nonprofit, which is basically just a meat space entity for the DAO and the Treasury. So once again, this is us taking steps to further set up the DAO as an entity separate of LG in the real world that and prepares us again to enter the phase where eventually Laguna and our investors do not have a supermajority voting right over this DAO. So that's Governance 2.0. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that people have. But I think the TLDR is we've learned a lot taking some of the madness that we've had to deal with since we launched governance. And this is very much an attempt to continue to iterate on that process and get better. Next, Shadowcorn vouchers are finally dropping this month. Get excited to finally get your hands on the eggs, or if you're one of the lucky 100, a custom figurine matching the Shadowcorn that you hatched. Super excited about that. We're going to be running a lot of Twitter marketing campaigns around this stuff. Probably doing some, I was talking to Ella about doing some UGC kind of reveal creative that will also have rewards and prizes and things. And so we need to make this kind of this is our initial getting toys and IRL assets into the into meat space. And I'm very, very excited to see this. It's really just scratching the surface of the plans that we have on that front. I've been working very, very hard in the background to line up larger brands and partnerships, and I've been making very good progress on that front. So this is very much just a first attempt. We're actually like using these as a showcase for some of these larger groups, you know, who can certainly scale to capacities well beyond what Ism Toys was able to provide us. So very, very excited. Obviously, this to me kicks off the official Shadowcorn Arc of the roadmap, which will be pretty imminently followed by the launch of Shadowforge, which of course is the preparatory on-chain minigame event leading up to Twilight Tactics, which is the first war for the Dark Forest, very much kind of a command and control effort to vie for the rewards that hide in the Dark Forest. And as we've said many, many times, where do unicorns go when they gather? Where are they going out on these quests? Obviously, it's the Dark Forest. So there's going to be a lot of, I'm very excited to begin to kind of tie all of this together. And then, of course, with the launch of 3.0 and Tribes this year, we'll kind of have that massive step forward in terms of the social dynamics within the game. And obviously the competition that occurs inside of the game. So very excited to see this kicking off. Again, we pitched this stuff in April. It's been X number of months. The team continues, despite some of the keyboard mashing comments that we get, moving at a breakneck pace. And I'm very proud of how quickly they've been able to execute on this plan. I guess I'll just leave on this. I've been working for 6 months on a partnership. I closed that partnership last week. You're going to start to see that partnership kick off in the coming weeks, and then there will be a massive announcement likely in September. These things take a lot of time. It's been very difficult at times to keep quiet on it and not throw it in the face of a lot of people who've raised various accusations or just been kind of painful to deal with. But I'm very excited about it. It's a partner that is taking a very long-term bet on this DAO, on this IP, and has the resources and companion products to help really advance and I think accelerate where we're at and kind of where we're headed on this stuff. So I'm very excited about this. It has taken forever. I think that's one thing people just cannot ever translate or communicate well enough, is that things just take time. But this is the first of several major partnerships that, again, I've been working on for 6 months, another one going on 4 months now. It's going to get very exciting very soon. I appreciate everyone who's stuck it out, kept the constructive feedback coming, helped fight some of the just senseless kind of BS FUD. And again, I have that meme in my mind of the individual who gives up right before they hit pay dirt or the diamonds, right, in the mine. And I see that as several of the people. So I need to print that out and start pasting a few people's names on it just to kind of give my mental health a little bit of a laugh. But I'll leave it at that. I know that's a tease of a tease of a tease, but things take time. I'm very happy to have closed this partnership, and I'm going to be very excited to see them ramp in and begin activating. I'm ready for questions. Sparkly.
I'm so glad I was muted all. I feel like everybody would have been deafened by all of the shrill screaming that I had for every announcement. There's good news for everybody. Core game players, shadow coin holders, even mobile game players. Just so much hype. And to add to that, the forbidden knowledge sparkle emoji will be revealed soon. If you know, you know. All right, so let's move on to the questions. We have a 3 questions per person rule. If the question has been answered previously, you'll have to ask something else. Any questions related specifically to your account or a Zendesk issue, please reach out to us on the Mod Support channel so we can help you. To ask the question in voice, press the request to speak button. The button looks like a raised hand. Once you click accept, you can start speaking. We also have written questions. It's on the Town Hall Bulletin forum channel. You can add a question there. But first up are the anonymous questions. Today we have one. Let's read it out. So, anonymous person says, on a more lighter note, a conundrum that has been incessantly bugging the community at large for an extended epoch, yet the answer remains ever elusive to our collective cognizance. The question is, how much unum is required if all baby corns in existence were to undergo synchronous evolution today?
What a wonderful question. I'll pull out my handy TI-89 just to give you guys the actual. So let's look. I even got the spreadsheet. So there's 51,200 for those watching at home. 51,236 babies as of yesterday. 6,500 unum. So we were looking at 333 million unum. Do you know that that is more than double the circulating supply not in the liquidity pool or in QE? This is what we talk about when we talk about economic depth. For everyone in the Axie community celebrating some net sinks that they've had on SLP, the last time I read that or ran that calculation, it would still take over, I believe, 15 years for them to sink the SLP that they've already admitted. So I constantly see this back and forth in our Discord with people showing up. We've done a nerf, we've changed the meta, we've rotated it, and there's just complaints around it. You have to understand we need to balance emissions against demand. When demand is soft, when demand is low, we have to move in one direction. When demand shifts, when demand changes, we move in another direction. We have proven time and time again that we can balance the game to be net sink in unum, net sink in RBW. We've had days where we've sunk more RBW into the game on a day than even the staking contract emitted that day. So we have proven time and time again that we can shift this stuff. I despise seeing OG community members coming in here complaining. We've done this time and time and time again. Get used to it, alter your strategies, or decide you're finally done and move on. But some of the senseless complaints around this stuff without a suggestion or throwing it in our face around like it's on you to grow and scale and build. Like, come on, be more constructive. Stop complaining about things we've done time and time again. You know who you are. I saw you this morning. Cool. Great question.
All right. We do have a follow-up question for that. Cora is asking, does any part of that consider that some babies might not be worth evolving?
With new systems coming online for Unicorn Burn, whether it's Twilight Tactics and them dying in the Dark Forest, or the GemWorks, which I think I've teased. Maybe that's a massive alpha league. I forget if I've teased the GemWorks, which will launch with tribes. Gems are going to require Unicorn soul power, right? So even the donkeys will get much higher utility than they currently have here soon. So, and Goliath, I'm not going to allow you to kill the baby unicorns. I'm going to force you to adult them, and then so you can only get soul power out of adults. You can't get it out of babies. I'm just not going to let you kill those poor baby corns. So that's a great question to ask, Cora. And one thing that I'll say, and this has been a part of this, I wish we had leaned on stats-based gameplay much, much, much quicker. I continue to encourage the design product teams to insert stats-based gameplay into every single loop, including the farm loops. Too many people bred donkeys, bred for scale. They did not breed for quantity. And quite frankly, I'm going to punish those players. I'll repeat that. I'm going to punish those players. The game was a breeding game to start, and many of you did not play that game. And so, at the end of the day, you kind of reap what you sow. If you've been just going after donkeys and trying to max out your farms, and you're playing the game of 3 rotations a day with your babies and not evolving them, you're not playing a strategy that's sustainable for the economy, and it is our responsibility to balance out those strategies. So when you're breeding, pay attention, breed for quality. The new nursery UI and UX gives you the data that you need to make the right decisions. Shoot for high tier genes, shoot to pass those genes on through the right bloodlines. Like, again, get in it, or purchase from the market from people who've spent that time and enormous amount of time and effort to get those. And you're going to see us continue to purchase high stat, high tier mythic corns for giveaways, for leaderboard rewards, for tournaments, for things of that nature, as a way to redistribute, if you will, these bloodlines. Because we certainly don't want a situation where there's only 10 breeders that can do this, right? But again, it will take people diving into that meta and attempting to learn it. So I do encourage people, if you haven't been, you really need to pivot towards trying to optimize for high stats. We see this with jousting. At the end of the day, if I'll leave it at that. Let's see if there are follow-ups.
So for any follow-ups, just message. I'll be looking at the town hall messages as well as general, so you can ask it there. Next question that we have is by F6. In Treasury, we have about $12 million, while at the beginning of August, the market cap is below $2 million and reaches ATL. I would like to know your opinion on RBW reaching lower and lower price levels. How do seed investors view it, and what is the relationship been like?
There were several questions in there. I guess I have no idea what the price of RBW will be tomorrow. I do know that if we continue to emit tokens and there's not demand from existing and new players, price is going to go down, right? When we tighten emissions, when we do these nerfs, it is to balance the macro of sink and source and ultimately the number of tokens being emitted per day. So again, people coming in with these senseless complaints around this stuff need to recognize what we are trying to do, which is balance an economy that has real assets in real time in response to player behavior that we actually have very little control over. We certainly tune the levers and can force you into certain loops with the right incentives, but at the end of the day, we cannot control your behavior. It's very, very difficult to predict what y'all will do. So, we need to focus on driving demand. We need to focus on onboarding. We need to focus on marketing. We need to focus on partnerships. And I think no one can deny that we have been executing across all those fronts. And I'm seeing progress. And especially when I talk to other founders in the space, very few of which actually have live games. The few that have live games, we're bigger than them. Hearing that Gods Unchained only has 5K wallets, right? Daily wallets now, right? Like that's just where things are at, So I expect a slow and steady grind upwards. And I'm hoping that some of these partnership announcements help to further catalyze the momentum. So that's kind of comments on the first question. What was the second part of that question, Sparkly? Because I want to double down on that.
So the second part of the question is, what is our relationship with investors like, and how are they viewing this current thing?
The seed investors bought into Laguna as a studio, right? So while they are certainly not happy with where the price of RBW currently sits, they believe in Laguna and they are and took a long-term bet. One of the benefits of having the mixture that we have of more traditional VCs that are gaming VCs and then the more crypto-centric VCs is we have a good mix. Traditional venture capital, they do not expect a return from a company for usually 5+ years, and it's usually much closer to 10 because the vast majority of companies fail anyway, right? And the ones that do produce returns, it's usually a long time before they go public and they have this and stuff. And so a lot of these VCs, for better or for worse, looked at tokens and said, okay, well, this is an interesting cherry on top to what we traditionally do, which is invest in equity. So I wouldn't say the relationship is strained. I'm talking to them today. I do think the vast majority of investors in the space are kind of in the trough of disillusionment just because they threw all of this money at the space. There has been very little to come out of that. Obviously, Axie kind of kicked it all off, generated most of the volume and things across Web3 games to date. They're still the vast majority of the success to date. And all that money that flowed in after has not necessarily proven out yet. So I do think that VCs are fatigued on the space and have concerns around it. That's not specific to us. That's just specific to the space and where it's at. The flip side of that is you have the world's most successful MMORPG developers like Eve, CCP. With Eve Frontiers, you have Nexon with Maple Story, like bringing their massive IPs into the Web3 space. So that's what typically happens. Everybody thinks VCs are really smart, not shitting on any of them. They're usually very intelligent, but they don't have a crystal ball, right? And they all got caught up in an enormous amount of FOMO. And that usually leads to an overcorrection on the other side. And that's what we're seeing, right? What I'm hearing from strategics, the Korean gaming companies, the Japanese gaming companies, even a few of the US free-to-play gaming companies, is they're spinning up Web3 games, they're launching Web3 games, they're very interested in making strategic investments and things of that nature. So that is why when people are asking about runway and these things, I have a lot of confidence in my ability to close funding for Laguna in a fashion that will allow us to reduce burn on CryptoUnicorns on the treasury there, extend that runway, and ensure that we have enough time to weather the storm. I just can't imagine after what we've achieved as quickly as we've achieved it with what we've built to support the game that we have today. Like if you think about the claim sites, you think about the game bank, you think about the second party stash in functionality. We've built all of this functionality to support the CU ecosystem. And there's a lot of value in that. And anyway, it's one of the reasons I remain very confident in my ability to chart a path forward that ensures we are not running out of runway before we see kind of this next wave hit. So I very much see that conversation often in Discord. And I don't disagree that we need to be in a position where we can survive for multiple years. And so that's very much the big goal. And just to be clear with everyone, by October 1, I will be pitch ready on our Series A. I'm already working on that deck. That deck includes a bunch of stuff around everything we've achieved with CryptoUnicorns, everything we've built, everything we've learned, and then in particular how we would apply those learnings both to a next title as well as the roadmap for CU. So happy to answer more questions on that. It's definitely something that, as you can imagine, this is something that I wake up to and I go to sleep to. This is very, very top of mind for me, and I don't want to come off like I'm ignoring it. It's front and center. We recognize that the LVM is no longer generating revenue. It is the product mandate to ensure we've generated enough demand to get that back in a state where primary sales of ETH are hitting the treasury again, right? We cannot sustain a loan on secondary revenue in the current environment. So happy to answer more questions on that, but the TLDR is I have a plan. That plan is in progress. All of these plans take a long time, but we're well plugged in. We've got the right investors who are going to want to see us funded further and not see us crash against the rocks. Great question.
Yes, love it. So Zior also added, esports had a very similar VC investment bubble arc as a blockchain. Partially why we're seeing that esports bubble pop right now. Different industry, similar, hyper speculative investment cycle without clear return. History repeats. JPB3 has a question. At what point does LG move on to its next game?
I mean, I don't intend to ever walk away from CryptoUnicorns so long as there's a DAO and a treasury, right? I saw T or somebody kind of talking about this. Like, eventually, the web and the blockchain teams are not going to have a ton of work. They'll go into maintenance mode, right? Especially once the Twilight Tactics is complete, right? Tribes is mostly a core game feature outside of the really cool kind of gem work stuff and the gems that we're going to be adding to really shake up the unicorn meta in a fun way. But yeah, so there's been this natural point at which, okay, the core game team will continue on to Team RPG, kind of post Tribes, probably 3.1, because we're going to follow the primary Tribes release with obviously a kind of an upgrade and getting it more towards raids and all the things we pitched in the deck, right? And then Team RPG will be on their plate. So the point I'm trying to make here is there's a chunk of the team we could rotate off to the next project that would reduce burn on the CU treasury, obviously, and get us in a position to start working on the fundamental architecture for our next title, which of course, we would deploy in a very different fashion. And anyway, I can answer questions on that front down the road. And of course, we are going to try to reward people who are interested in following us on that journey. Like that is top of mind. That is very important, but we pitched investors. I've said this openly in town halls. We wanted to be the supercell of the Web3 space. As hard as it has been, as frustrating as Zesty and I get at times, and as difficult as it is to deal with at times, that dream remains. And Supercell is Supercell because they had Heyday and they followed it up with Clash of Clans, right? So I guess that's kind of all I have to say about that at this time. I do see Daffy's question like really quick. Daffy, unicornparty.com and the plan behind this shift that will be announced later this month via draft proposal is to implement them all into oh, I understand your question. Because we need a different avenue. The core game team has the core game has enough in it, right? And we want a separate SKU that exposes the IP to new players, allows them to come in and spend / wager fiat and other forms of crypto beyond just RBW, to focus more on a way to expose people to the Unicorn IP without forcing them through a bunch of a wallet stuff and like all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I think once people see this proposal, you're all going to go, holy shit, we need to be doing this. We probably should have done this in the first place. And I'll go, yep, I wish I'd been smart enough to think about it from this angle to start, instead of going after the kind of separate SKUs there. And Goliath match 3 is the Team RPG loop that I referred to. So Team RPG will be the focus of the core game team after Tribes is shipped. Alrighty.
Right. We have Cora requesting to speak. Come on over. Hey.
Hello. Really excited to be here again with you guys. I was just wondering if we go back to the super potato mode that you guys are saying about. I was wondering, what were the lowest spec devices that you used? Did you actually test on any mobile devices to see how well it would run?
Honestly, no, because I'm not going to go through that process. We do not support mobile natively. I can tell you that it will run a hell of a lot better in the past, but I'm not going to go down the path of saying, oh, we're going to try and get this to run in a mobile browser on mobile device specs. No, we might as well try for native mobile apps, and oh yeah, we'd be banned by Apple, right? Barely make it through the Google review process. So this should solve many of the problems and get it back into a state where it feels good and it is playable. But I am not going down the slippery slope of trying to optimize a mobile web game for mobile, just to draw the line there, Cora.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. But
and if you have more questions on specific specs and things, Zesty Beans is the person to DM, or hit him up in the Sirius channel and let him answer these questions. Okay?
Yeah, great. Thank you. So one other thing, I was wondering if we had considered how the experience would be for someone who was new to CU to come in and, they have maybe one land to a few corns, and the progress is kind of excruciatingly slow, and it's hard to see from just going in for the first time what can be done and what loops are going to be exciting. And yes, we have bumper corns, but there's an infinite wait time sometimes to get into a room, so it's not exactly a great experience. So how do we make it better for the new people when they come in, especially with some of the nerfs to low level?
Yeah, no, this is so I really appreciate you coming up and asking this question, because this is something we've been internally talking about a lot, right? One of the challenges is balancing between the OGs who've been here and have all the upgrades, right? Who also are in a position to source the most, and in some cases are not sinking a ton, right? So balancing that and these kind of global nerfs that we apply to different systems obviously put us in a position where it makes progress. That's really what we are nerfing at the end of the day, is your ability to progress quickly within the game, which does, if you're progressing, you're not sinking, allow you to extract, right? So you're spot on with this. It lines up with what we've been thinking about. And our answer is kind of this new player experience. I'll just call them kind of noob quest lines. And the idea is to give players potentially items that are short duration timers to run them through all the loops very quickly. So they're not getting set, have to come back 8 hours later and harvest and things like that. We have this feature called Mailbox that will be launching soon, and Mailbox is going to give us a lot of flexibility. For example, via the referral program, which I believe is still launching this month. Referees will come in and have a mail in their mailbox, and that will give them some rewards. Let's just say these seeds like plant and harvest within 30 seconds. I'm making up things, but it would be very short timers. It allows them to grind through the loops, get introduced to everything quickly. And then we're lining them up with think of it like event quests that are only specific to kind of these new players. Obviously, there's a balancing act there, right? We don't want to create an incentive where some OG player goes, oh, that's really great. I'm going to go and rotate land to a bunch of new addresses and try and trigger this. So there's cool ways we can do it by the giveaway campaigns and by the referral program where we know these addresses are being referred out. We can kind of better track them. We can then only allow those addresses to see these quests and things. So we're very much thinking similarly about kind of what you're talking about. And Time Traveler had a great suggestion yesterday, which was kind of to have a leaderboard specific. Leaderboards are challenging because, what if, do you run it for 6 months and what happens to a player who joins month 5, right? So leaderboard wasn't really what we were thinking, but more of like milestones, right? Similar to the milestones that we have on top of our leaderboards. But this would just be milestones. So now you're grinding to get that 30-day, say mythic loot box, right? And again, I'm just throwing out items and things just to give you an idea of how we're thinking about it. So timing on this is pretty damn soon. I don't know if we're going to wait for the mailbox feature or if we're going to put out this stuff with 2.4. That is a little bit, or 2.3. That is a little bit of the debate that we're having internally. But the questions that you're asking, the things you're thinking through are very much top of mind for us, and we need to solve this. So these kind of noob or beginner story quest chains and things are designed to cycle people through the system, get them or all the game features in a way that is less forcing them to come back in 8 hours, right? Do you have any follow-up questions to that, Cora? This is something that's critical, and we really do need to line up with the referral program and just with all of these, new players coming in so that they have something to grind towards that is helping accelerate their early progress. And as everyone knows, the economic depth of this game is that, I'm not concerned about accelerating new progress.
Yeah, I think you addressed a lot of these concerns that could come up with that, especially around potentially incentivizing OGs to try and game the system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more curious about whether there's some alpha you could provide on what the referral system might look like.
We're using ShareMint. I'm not going to steal Mitch's thunder. He's very excited to pitch all you guys about this. But the referral program will allow you to, you guys, content creators, to send out links. Anyone who clicks that link comes into the game, gets kind of automatically set up into the program. And as they progress through the milestones, both you and the person you referred receive rewards as a result of that. So it's a way to incentivize referrals. It's a way to track the performance of referrals. If you're referring bots, if you're referring, players that aren't progressing, you won't be able to extract from the system. So I'm very excited about this, and it is imminent. So Mitch to follow up very soon with updates on that front. I think people will be pretty excited about it.
Thank you so much. And I really hope that this makes the new player onboarding experience that much better so that they can maintain enough interest to start sinking in more and contributing more to our ecosystem. All right, thank you so much. Ulu.
Ulu. Thank you, Cora.
Thank you so much, Cora. We also have Goliath Thrills requesting to speak. Come on over, please. Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I got some questions. So yeah, the onboarding process. I think I saw some posts and I found it funny in the chat of how people were having such a problem trying to figure out how to do sunflower. So they kind of like we sort of have been playing this game for such a long time that we kind of forget what it's like to be a new player. And so I guess that experience was good from a standpoint of maybe helping that discussion. So one question I had was, I know we have some videos up on YouTube on the old interface and stuff. Would it be possible for us to get some new content up there for that? Like legit company content and stuff like that? That's the first question, because I want something to point to folks, but it seems like we're kind of pointing to videos that have the old interface and stuff. So just one thought.
Mitch's new videos, and somebody on the CM team can link these. I believe has all the new content because it's him like streaming
great.
his setup. So
That's right. Thanks.
we have a list, and that I would recommend broadcasting that out because Mitch is just great at walking people through that stuff. So somebody here in chat or in general, we should share that. And I do think it's a good note to make sure those videos are very well organized, so it's kind of clear how
There's a
where to
channel
start.
on YouTube basically that we could like subscribe to that would allow
There
us.
is, yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
those types of links, I don't know if we've updated the links inside the main Discord, but maybe put some stuff up there. And maybe the other thought is if there could be links off of the main website, to these types of things, that might be good as well. Just a thought there. But yeah, I have some folks that were coming in that I've onboarded recently, and they're basically trying to play the game, but they're having problems finding content.
No, this is great. I want to test this. So obviously Sparkly's here and listening. Let's follow up after this, make sure those videos get shared. And then I'd appreciate some feedback from you, Goliath, just on what additional questions potentially are coming out of that, right? That will help us understand where there's, gaps still. We've also just updated the game guide to include delegation, include jousting and some additional tutorials and guides. So that's a thing to look at again. This was a very recent update that Ziori and a few other team members led. So the more feedback we can get on where there are gaps, where people are getting stuck, the better. And if we don't have specific guides for that, we can get them produced. So that'd be great.
Let me try this again. So I switch mics. Hopefully you can hear me again. But the other piece about this was, I know you were going to put up some information on like mythics and how mythics are cool and that kind of stuff and that kind of thing. Where were you at in terms of like updating the website content and that?
Honestly, I do not know. I think at some point Ziori shared some stuff. Ziori's typing. Let's see. I'm pretty sure he shared a write-up, but I don't know if it made it to the game guide.
Because I'm doing the same thing. Like I'm making it's in the Git book. Okay, all right. So I'll make sure that basically I get that information out. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff to track, and basically a lot of information out there. I appreciate all of it, and I'll make sure that I take a look at that.
There is a Mythic Unicorn section here in the guide. Yeah, this is fantastic. So this should be what you're looking for. But again, please call out potential gaps or questions because that really helps us refine this documentation.
Okay. Yeah, I think the thing is that, I mean, even though I've been playing for a while, I think it's like tracking all of the content is just
For sure.
It's getting a little unwieldy. So yeah, at any rate, that's the thought on that.
Yeah, we're about to launch a news site as well, which will bring news and updates kind of outside of Discord and give everybody this just one source of truth, this one thing you can bookmark to come back to. Obviously, we'll link out to it in Discord, but that should make everything a little bit more public facing. And, you can think of it like extensive release kind of patch notes and things of that nature. So definitely a lot of stuff in flight that is imminent and should be helpful here.
And then the last question was that I'll have, and then I can hand it off, was you were talking shadow corns. I just want to make sure I get my facts right before I go tout and stuff. So by the end of the month, you think we'll be able to make minions? Is that the thought? Or are we looking at next month?
Next month. I can tell you Shadow Forge is going into testing this week. And we are going to be, actually, I'm glad you asked that question because I did miss this in my notes. We are going to be sharing the starting tuning of that contract and of that system with the community here. Ziori is going to be leading that effort. So that'll be everybody's first chance to look at everything that's kind of coming and give feedback on potential concerns relative to that initial design. And then we're doing a few weeks of internal, obviously, QA and play testing to prepare for launch in early September.
Ryan, I got one last question, which is basically the sunflower thing. Where do you see that partnership kind of going in that? Do you see this as a long-term thing or maybe a short-term thing, or like how do you see that playing out? And maybe that's a Mitch question, but I just thought I'd ask it. So, but that's it.
I want to see the response from their players, right? If their players are coming in, enjoying the game, ramping, being retentive, that kind of thing, like I think there's longer term avenues that we can explore. I think one of the things is they did, this integration inside of their game. We did not, right? Just given how strapped our resources are. And obviously, it's a lot easier to update a pixel game, like no shade at all. It just is. So they, but yeah, I want to see the performance of this. And the idea here was like, what happens when you do a much, much, much deeper integration than all of the partnerships we tried prior, right? And let's see how it performs and then kind of go from there. I've always been really big fans of theirs. We worked with a group that had done bot detection for them. So some of the ideas that it's just all bots over there, I don't think are true based on the data that I saw. But yeah, again, we need to kind of see how it works. If it works well, we'll probably do more and look for other games that we can do integrations with like that. And I really hope for our team that eventually we can begin to do more integrations inside of our title, because that will, I think, be a requirement for future opportunities, especially with potentially. Anyway, I'll kind of stop there. I don't want to leak that alpha. So, but yeah, I'm very happy with how it's going so far. The level of integration, their community seems to be happy with it. Our community seems to be happy trying another game. I mean, Hilmar said it best on that panel I did with him. He's the founder of CCP, EVE Online. All these blockchain games, particularly the ones that sit on the same chain, are network states, right? That sit on this shared global state of the blockchain. And it's the strongest economy will always win, right? So it is going to be interesting to see, I think, how different games survive over time. It's going to be very interesting to see.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Goliath. So to add with what Cora was asking for, I have started a Zesty question for Zesty thread in the Serious channel. So if you have a question regarding the specs of the test, like what we use to test potato mode, you can ask it there. You can also ask any other tech-related questions for Zesty. All right, we do have one more person requesting to speak. It is Kaiser. Hey, long time no see in the stage. Please come on over. Hey.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome, good time zone. Just one question, since we're gonna have tribes, right? We're also gonna have shadow corns and minions, and now definitely we're moving to the phase where we're gonna get a lot of stats and all this stuff. Are we looking to have any equipments to become NFTs for your unicorns in the future, or is this already on the roadmap, or we're still looking at other things?
Instead of equipment, we went with gems, but gems will function very similar to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
In
well,
terms of the
that's all my
ability to
questions.
buff, certain stats and
Mhm.
all of that kind of stuff, right? I kind of described it, I think, a town hall ago as the, Thanos Infinity Gauntlet, right, for each corn, right? So,
Mhm. Yeah.
that system, to me, the gym system, is effectively our answer for equipment, and it will be very important for Tribe's gameplay, particularly as we lean into the PvP and PvE components of it. And it will even be important in terms of like buffing, stats on farms and things like that. Like, it's just going to get a lot more brutal. There will be opportunities where you show up and you've been rated and stuff over time. And if you have high stat unicorns and you're in a tribe that's filled out the watchtowers and things, like, you're going to maybe be more protected than those who are not. And anyone unhappy with this is sitting on a bunch of donkeys right now. And unfortunately, I'm giving you this alpha now in a few months to really change your breeding direction.
Yes, true. Actually, I'm ever since then, as you know, I'm getting files from the site. I've noticed that the structure of our database is similar to some of the games I played before. Like, I'm not sure if you know, State of Survival, Last Fortress Underground, where they have a very massive ways to like really sink in the economy.
Of
Like,
course. Yeah, that's one of
they
the
have like,
OG Forex titles. Or
yeah,
Forex
I
developer.
think
So
that's a good
the fact that
idea.
you said that makes me so happy.
I mean, if
Uh,
we'll be able to implement like those in the tribes, that it's gonna be a war. That's gonna be very amazing. We're gonna really think a lot, but that will be awesome.
I mean, the
I'm
one
very
thing I would
excited
just
for Shadow
caution
Coin.
is you can't expect everything day one with Tribes, but this is
Of course.
absolutely the direction that we're headed, right? The first version of Tribes will
Mhm.
focus on getting the tribes together, the social constructs around that, the social constructs around the hierarchy inside of your guilds, your tribes, and of course the gem works, which is going to allow you to begin crafting these gems, which can be NFTs if you would like, right? So that's going to be a really cool kind of trade meta for players. But you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the direction that we've been heading for a long time, and I'm very, very excited to pivot this. You're going to see us towards the end of this month really shift the way we market the game to very much kind of focus on this, and it's an attempt to make sure people never consider us a farm sim ever again, and that mental shift in how we pitch the game, or what I'm asking for is make sure the community begins to embrace that narrative and pitch it. I think it's the best way to get people who've written us off or ignored us to pay attention again.
I really think it's gonna be exciting if we are all actually going to go to that direction. Those games are really, really team based. I think it's gonna be exciting. Looking
The
forward to it. And
social
it took them
cooperative
years.
PvP is critical, and that is a core feature that we're heading
Correct.
towards, right?
Yes. Okay, well, that's all for now from me. Thank you so much, Aaron. Ooh, woo.
Thanks, Kaiser.
Ooh. Okay, so that is the end of the questions. That concludes our town hall number 43. If you have any further questions, just reach out to us on the thread. We'll answer it. And we will see you next time for the bi-weekly town hall number 44 with members of the internal team. So if you have a specific member of the internal team, or if you have a specific question that you want to have answered, let me know and I'll try to get them on the stage. We'll post a recording of this on our socials if you would like to give it a re-listen. And don't forget to share this with your friends and fellow unicorn fans who couldn't make it. If you have more any questions, feel free to reach out on our support channels, the Mod Support channel and the Ask the Devs channel. This has been Sparkly Unicorn with Video Tech, hosting co-founder and CEO Aaron. Do you have any closing remarks?
I'm just super excited for all the launches this month, the kickoff of the Shadowcorn roadmap, getting the figurines into the hands of players who've been waiting forever. I'm just incredibly excited to kind of flip this switch right in the middle of our largest partnership to date, beginning to onboard into the community. Again, the winds are changing. If you're not getting bullish, you're not looking at the right things. Get your head out of the stand, look around, pay attention to what's happening, who's joining the community, be supportive. Let's try to cast out those who remain toxic because they are unhelpable, and let's move forward. It is critically important that we take the momentum here and keep it going. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining.
I love it, and I
Woo
couldn't
woo.
agree more. Right after this, I'm going to mute and scream very excitedly because of all the updates. So that's it. Thank you so much, everybody. Good morning, good night, and see you in game, Unicorn fam. Uwu. Ready? Non-HR. Uwu, please. It's not happening. Okay, thank you so much. Oh, wow. Non-HR Uwu. That's new. Uwu, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.